finding a home.
It's the American dream to have a home.
And keeping a home.
That's about all I got left in my life is my house.
In Central Ohio's hot housing market.
Would it be accurate to say then that you have issues with rents coming down?
Out-of-state corporations coming in.
Can people in Marysville afford rents of $2,500 a month?
I couldn't imagine paying $2,300 to $2,700 a month for rent.
Going after those rejecting plans of build-to-rent subdivisions.
But it is funny because they said we were a handful of scoundrels.
Lawmakers divided on what to do. Some say conflicts of interest have emerged.
This is a wealthy, powerful corporation that expects to control the housing market.
These are the hidden costs of today's housing crisis. Hello, YouTube viewers. I'm ABC6 On Your Side problem solver Lisa Rantala, and this is my latest edition of Hidden Costs of today's housing crisis. A battle is now brewing in Central Ohio when it comes to out-of-town corporations buying up homes to turn into rentals and even developing build-to-rent subdivisions throughout the region. Nevada-based American Homes for Rent is breaking ground in Violet, Berkshire, and Jerome townships and have gone after those who have told them no.
So although the breeze is actually better on the front porch, but the traffic noise, sometimes it's hard.
A Marysville homeowner for 7 years now.
We're just 10 miles outside of Columbus, but it feels like a whole nother world when you get home.
Amy Potter Grimm looks out into the field across her street.
Do you now feel some of that tranquility is in jeopardy?
It is. It is.
This is where Nevada-based corporation American Homes for Rent wants to create a fourth build-to-rent subdivision in Central Ohio, while other communities will include 100 single-family home rentals or less.
The housing crisis is coming right here to your front door.
Right here.
The Weaver Mill Farm project will include nearly 300.
What are your biggest concerns about a 298 single-family rental community?
For myself, it's the school district.
Amy and hundreds of her neighbors
Do you believe that this project is really good for Marysville?
are taking their concerns to Marysville City Council.
No one will own anything, and they will like it.
Please do not approve this decision.
A lot of money is going to be made on this project by a very few people.
Amy called on State Senator Bill Blessing out of Hamilton County.
How do these people save for a home when they'd be paying $30,000 per year in rent?
Why did you reach out to Senator Bill Blessing?
I discovered this actually through your reporting and that his bill.
Senator Blessing has introduced regulations on institutional investors who own more than 50 single, double, or triple family home rentals in a single county.
I strongly suspect that rental houses will be built at a far greater rate than those for sale.
Neighbors finally presented council this petition against the project.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Appreciate it.
Signed by more than 1,000 neighbors.
What does that tell you that you had over 1,000 signatures on this petition?
It was amazing because the people of Marysville are speaking out.
But just a few miles down the road. So then you built the house.
Yeah, built a house, and she wanted a horse.
These were some of the same actions taken by homeowners in Jerome Township.
Of course, it always happens when it's right next door to you.
Not near my backyard.
Yeah, and that's what got us.
Bob and Linda Chapman not only signed but circulated a petition.
We want to vote on this. We want to say, and that's our right.
That led to a referendum on the ballot in May of last year regarding another AMH build-to-rent community.
Too much, too fast, and it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
While voters rejecting the project made up nearly 70% of the vote. Did you know that you would win overwhelmingly?
Yes.
AMH Development took Jerome Township to federal court. They called the referendum a scheme to torture the zoning process.
It is funny because they said we were a handful of scoundrels.
In previous statements to problem solvers, representatives with AMH have sent me this. AMH believes in and invests deeply in our communities. We own and manage the neighborhoods we develop long term, and our homes provide safe, high quality, well-maintained housing options at significant discounts, on average 20 to 25% to the cost to own in a given market. In the end,
Do you feel like your rights were trampled here?
Oh, heavens, yes.
Jerome Township settled with AMH through a consent decree, and the Curry Farm build-to-rent community is now going through.
The people who live around here can't afford these houses already.
Now, the Chapmans are planting their own buffer of pine trees to salvage some privacy.
Yeah, we used to hear owls and coyotes.
And Amy in Marysville knows a no vote may not be an end to her fight.
We're not against rentals in Marysville. That's the furthest thing from it. However, can we handle 298, let's just call them single-family units? Can we handle that? No, our school district can't handle it.
Marysville City Council rejected the zoning, meaning the project won't go through for now. AMH would have brought in about $750,000 from the Weaver Mill Farms project per month. I asked City Council members if they were concerned that their rejection would spark another lawsuit.
Cities have law directors for a reason. Ohio is where people are moving to, and Union County has always been a cheaper cost of living.
According to Ohio law, a project cannot be blocked solely because it's a rental project as opposed to something for sale. Neighbors in Marysville say this many rentals would have created other problems affecting traffic, schools, drainage, and emergency services. AMH did not respond back to me when I asked for comment. And what's the timeline there? When can we see you introduce an act to address the housing crisis?
We'll certainly follow up when we've got something ready to get out there.
With homeownership in Ohio on the decline, ABC6 On Your Side Problem Solvers is keeping our lawmakers accountable who claim they want to turn this trend around. Those introducing federal bills that crack down on corporate institutional investors say they need Republican support to get them to pass. So I asked U.S. Republican Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio if he plans to act and how. As a candidate.
But will they stop buying up the homes that destroy the wealth of the middle class? No, they won't.
Investor J.D. Vance from Ohio told supporters his fears with corporate institutional housing investors.
So when these hedge funds take special government privileges and go and buy up all the single-family homes, what they're doing is destroying wealth in this country.
2 years later, and now U.S. Senator, is this still your stance on corporate institutional housing investors? Republican lawmaker J.D. Vance finds himself in the middle of a housing crisis.
They have access to lower interest rates, they have access to cheaper money, and they completely crowd out the availability of homes for people who want to, just buy a piece of their community.
ABC6 On Your Side Problem Solvers started investigating institutional investors when our viewers told us they posed some of the biggest housing concerns. Corporate-owned American Homes for Rent, based out of Nevada, owns more than 2,000 single-family rental homes in the Columbus area, another 2,000 in Cincinnati, and reports it has increased same-house rents by 8% last year.
And if they continue to keep raising the rent, we're not going to be able to afford it.
The publicly traded company is also breaking ground on 3 separate build-to-rent subdivisions in central Ohio made up of more single-family home rentals. Initial rents will start at $2,500 a month.
The American public is getting hurt by Wall Street on this, by these big private investing companies.
In July, U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown out of Ohio introduced the Stop Predatory Investing Act with several other Democrats. It would eliminate the federal tax deductions of interest or depreciation on properties owned by corporations and investors with portfolios of 50 single-family home rentals or more in one community. Can the Stop Predatory Investing Act pass without Republican support?
No, we'll need Republican support.
2 months later,
no bipartisan support yet on it, but we've had that on a lot of issues on housing.
Senator Brown still lacks the needed Republican support. Have you supported the Stop Predatory Investing Act?
So I haven't looked at either of those pieces of legislation, though generally I think they're pointing in the right direction, which is that we need to make it harder for institutional buyers.
Admittingly not reading some of the current proposals to regulate institutional investors, Senator Vance tells me bills now on the table don't go far enough.
Look around and say, what are we doing when we're letting the Communist Chinese Party buy up homes that should be going to Ohio citizens? It just doesn't make any sense.
So I pulled this year's International Transactions in U.S. Residential Real Estate report released by the National Association of Realtors. It indicates the number of foreign buyers purchasing homes in the U.S. is the lowest it's been since 2011. The study shows 84,000 home sales this year compared to 284,000 in 2017. Ohio doesn't even make the top 14 destinations for Chinese home buyers. 33% of those sales are based out of California.
I think it's very hard to talk about the housing crisis in Ohio or across the country without talking about the immigration problem too, because when you let's say 10 million or 15 million people into the country illegally, those people all need homes.
Going back to the 2023 National Association of Realtors study, Ohio has seen 2,500 foreign buyer home purchases from April of last year to March of this year. 550 of those international buyers came from Mexico.
If you think bills aren't going far enough to encourage your support, what have you introduced or what have you supported as of today to pull Ohio out of the housing crisis it's in?
Yeah, so we're working on a number of pieces of legislation.
But no timeline to what Senator Vance continues to call a crucial issue for Ohio was given in this 6 minutes granted for my interview.
For now, we're monitoring the legislation that's out there and thinking about whether we can join it or whether we should introduce our own thing.
As many feel the strain of today's housing crisis, others are seeing profits. Pension funds for Ohio's teachers and public employees are investing in institutional investors like American Homes for Rent by the millions. The state teachers retirement system of Ohio manages a fund of $91 billion. STRS invests in nearly 2,000 companies, owning more than 1 million shares in just 50. Those include Amazon, Apple, Kroger, Intel, and American Homes for Rent. Its AMH shares are worth about $55 million. The Ohio Public Employees Retirement System, with a $105 billion fund, owns $20 million's worth of AMH stock. Some Ohio lawmakers are asking if this is a conflict of interest.
And I can't help but feel like the fix is in, that it's just, we're just going to increasingly financialize housing in Ohio. That is my concern.
In an email, STRS Ohio told Problem Solvers that it has a diversified portfolio and does not comment on investment strategy regarding any particular stock. How important is home ownership to you?
It's the American dream to have a home. That's about all I got left in my life is my house.
His family home in the Hilltop now in jeopardy. Homeowners across Columbus are reaching out to say if Columbus City Schools passes its new levy, they'll likely lose their homes. While higher home values in Franklin County this year aren't causing everyone's property tax to go up, projections for some very low income are spiking. Now, both sides of the proposed Columbus City Schools levy say they are in a dire situation. His memories go back by more than 50 years. How old are those windows?
1955.
And center around his home along Eakin Road.
I remember him working at White Westinghouse. My father worked at GM.
This is Gilbert Hudson at 5 years old when his parents bought their Hilltop home.
My parents passed on and they left it to me. I'm still here.
This is Gil Hudson now. So this is outright paid for?
Yep.
But you're still worried because of the tax.
I just don't understand why he would raise taxes to the point where they're going to exclude me out of the neighborhood.
Gil received this notice from the Franklin County auditor weeks ago.
So when you opened that up, what was your first reaction?
His value of $60,000 more than doubled.
Wow.
According to the auditor's website, Gil's home value will tentatively jump to $132,000. That's with nearly no home improvements over the last few years.
Okay, so you went to the library to print this out.
I don't have internet, I don't have air conditioning, I don't have cable.
With the value increase, the auditor's calculator shows Gill's property tax will also go up from $1,000 to possibly $1,800. That's a yearly increase of about 70%.
Could you afford $1,665, $1,840 a year in tax?
Not at my present level, no.
And now, Gill also worries about a new tax proposed by Columbus City Schools, a capital improvements and operating levy that could tack on another $240 to $360 for him a year.
If this levy passes, you may be out of a home.
Yep. If others vote for the levy, I'll be out of a home.
At the same time of Gill's financial stressors,
we know that we must do better.
Columbus City School Superintendent Dr. Angela Chapman stresses those of the district and the 45,000 students it serves. CCS introduced the levy to generate $100 million in new money per year.
We have to focus on acceleration for all students. That means every student, no matter what grade level, what classroom, every student should be making a year's worth of progress and growth every year.
After receiving $500 million in federal ESSER dollars stemming from the pandemic, CCS says that money is running out. That's putting teaching and counseling positions along with academic programs like career readiness courses on the chopping block.
Should exist at every high school, not just some of our high schools. That is an experience that every CCS student, we would want to provide them with that opportunity.
CCS says these are the resources needed to help pull itself up from the below standard 2-star grade it now has with the state.
The needs of our students will not go away.
And while both sides are calling their situations dire,
do you think that there will be people, because of all this, losing their homes?
Yeah. There's a very real possibility that people are in the same boat. It's scary.
They know votes cast in November will create an impact felt for years and maybe several more decades to come.
What's Plan B?
Well, I guess Plan B would be just to move on, I guess, if I have to.
A number of school districts are putting levies on the ballot this November. However, voters defeated many back in May. Ohio voters only passed 48% of the school bonds and levies in May, a drop from the 65% last primary. Renewals dropped by 16 percentage points. Bonds or levies generating new money dropped to the lowest rate it's been in 16 years. The Ohio Senate formed a new select committee on housing to help create solutions to the state's housing crisis. Rents in Central Ohio is increasing at one of the highest rates in the nation. With a deficit of 270,000 homes in the state, the director of the Ohio Department of Development testified before the committee that millions of dollars are going to tax credits and land banks to help rehab homes and build. She was also questioned about what her department was doing to reduce rents.
So would it be accurate to say then that you have issues with rents coming down?
Through the chair to the senator, I do not have issues with rents coming down, but I do recognize that there is a high cost of maintaining these properties and building them.
Those who testified said the cost to build just a basic small house ranges from $250,000 to $300,000. The committee plans to tour the state and come up with a report of their findings sometime this session. Thank you for joining me for this recent edition of the hidden costs of today's housing crisis. I will stay on top of this topic, which affects so many of you. Until next time, I'm Lisa Rantala.